I was the teacher who didn't know how to teach reading. Can I tell you about that today? And would you like to hear how it was all turned around? I'm also wanting to offer you an invitation to a free event that's just for you, that's related directly to this story. During this event, you'll witness your struggling or striving readers make gains you probably never thought possible with just 5 minutes a day for 5 days. We'll also have prizes and free resources at this event, so stay tuned. So I'm going to get started telling you the story about how I was a teacher who did not know how to teach reading. But before I do that, I want you to share, do you have kids that you feel like you're not really reaching? Maybe you have had students that you didn't quite know how to get them to get on grade level. Share that with your fellow teachers. Don't use names, just use pseudonyms. But I bet even though you guys are probably a cut above because you're here looking for professional learning on a weeknight when everyone else is maybe watching something on Netflix. So even though you're a cut above, I bet you have encountered this challenge of feeling like, I don't know how to get this kid to figure out how to learn to read. And why do I think that? Well, the stats are pretty scary. In the US, almost 65% of fourth graders are not proficient in reading. And internationally, although many countries do better, they don't do a lot better. So the odds are that we are, almost all of us, faced with kids where we're not meeting the bar that we might have set for us ourselves as teachers. So go ahead and share that if you are brave and bold enough tonight, because it is a reality if we teach reading. And that's why here at Reading Simplified, I even exist. I have gone through this pain of not knowing how to teach reading and finding a way to streamline classroom reading instruction and also accelerate reading achievement for students. So I want to share with you tonight how it kind of all got started and how one key activity really turned it all around. And that activity is going to relate to that free event that I mentioned to you. So I'm Dr. Marty Ginsberg, and I'm glad you're here tonight. Go ahead and share where you're from, what you teach, and also share if you have a concern about a kid or several kids that aren't really making the cut for reading. So let me tell you about my story. So in the 90s, a little while ago, I was a public school teacher. I was a middle school teacher. And I was teaching, after I taught in 7th grade in the Pennsylvania area, I went to North Carolina. I was teaching 6th grade. Mostly I was teaching language arts at that point. And I had a class where I noticed that the kids were, even though they were 6th grade reader level, they were reading like 4th grade on average. So that was really upsetting to me, but it really got kind of scary. The next year I was in that same 6th grade English classroom, and I had 2 kids that could not even read Dr. Seuss, like Hop on Pop. Have you been there? Have you seen that kind of gap with your students? It's scary, isn't it? Thumbs up if you've experienced that, where your kids are way behind what they should be. And so I had a master's. I had paid attention in class. I had even gotten mostly all A's. But I'd had a reading class. I had a degree in how to teach English. But I did not know what to do with the whole class in general, but specifically these 2 boys. And I knew that their lives were on a very bad trajectory. If they could not read Hop on Pop in 6th grade when they were 11, going on 12, what would they do in this world? And I was kind of panicked, and I felt responsible. I felt guilty. I felt embarrassed. And I also felt a little bit angry because I had paid attention. I did what I was supposed to do, and I didn't even know how to solve the fundamentals. Have you been there? Unfortunately, it's not that uncommon. Melody's here. Melody Sunshine, what a beautiful name, from Ohio. Thanks for saying hi. And if you're just tuning in, I'm sharing how I was once a teacher that didn't know how to teach reading, and I'm opening it up to you. If you have students that are frustrating you and you feel like you're not reaching them, share about that without saying names. Because it's very common. So there I was, this 6th grade English teacher, And I had these two boys, and I want to tell you about them because they're very viscerally ingrained in my mind. This was a real turning point for me in my life as a teacher. One of the boys was named, I won't say his name, I'll call him Jeremiah. And he was this really bubbly, effervescent personality, super popular, really cool, really socially connected, and really savvy. I was always kind of watching him like, wow, it's amazing that he's so in tune with what's popular, and had sophisticated understanding of social dynamics. This really played out quite strikingly when I did read alouds. I read aloud almost every day. I remember reading aloud like Where the Red Fern Grows, The Great Gilly Hopkins, or Running Out of Time. And I would ask some kind of question like, well, why do you think the character's doing this? And he always had a super insightful explanation that was kind of years above his peers. So I was so struck by the fact that here was this kid who was exceptional leader, exceptionally savvy about human interaction, and he could not read Hop on Pop. It was just not right. He had so many gifts, so much potential, and I really wanted to help him, but just reading aloud to him while it was exciting and building his vocabulary and helping him catch on to something, it wasn't enough, right? He needed to learn the code. Welcome, Anne, our friend from Canada, Renfrew County. So this boy, again, Jeremiah, I was very disturbed about him. He had extraordinarily weak weak memory. No matter what I did, just working memory, just nothing seemed to stick. And I didn't know how to get him from A to B to C to D. So that was Jeremiah. The other one was kind of like his contrast. And this other little boy, young man, I'll call him Eddie. He's kind of more the stereotypical child at this point. He knew that he was 11 and he couldn't read, and he was pretty irritated with the whole school situation. He was sullen. I rarely saw him smile. He didn't have a lot of friends. It was hard to draw him out. He didn't want to engage in school and things that I wanted him to do, things that other people wanted him to do. It was kind of hard to reach him. And so both of those boys, Eddie and Jeremiah, ended up being my little projects one spring when I finally found something that was going to that it seemed it would make a difference for them. But before I found something, I had searched high and low. I had scoured the public library. I had scoured the university library. Fortunately, I was near to the University of North Carolina, and they would allow, the public to go in there. So I looked at row after row of books on how to teach reading. And one book would say, immerse them in language and literature, which I was doing, but that wasn't teaching them how to read the words. And another book would say, show them flashcards of letter sounds. Another one would say, here's 101 different activities you can do. But it was like, just throw 101 activities at me as a teacher. Like, where's the plan? What's step one? Is that the first activity that I do? And if I do it, how do I know when I'm successful? What's the goal? Like, it was just, too much. So I finally found something that worked. I still remember seeing it one day when I was at the end cap of the store bookshelves at Barnes & Noble, and I skimmed through it, and I was like, oh, I told my husband, I'm going to have to buy this, and this is the ticket. And that was the book called Reading Reflex. And it really did open my eyes to see how you can teach the code, how you can teach decoding to kids like my Jeremiah and my Eddie. So I pulled them aside as much as I could, before school, after school, during Channel 1, if any of you have ever seen that news program that we had a while back, at least in American classrooms for kids. So I pulled them aside because I had like 80 kids and I was supposed to be teaching 6th grade language arts. I didn't have time to tutor and catch them up. It was pretty tricky. But I finagled as many free moments as I could usually with each of them individually because they were in different classes and one would come during the morning and one wouldn't. But they wouldn't come all that regularly, and so it was kind of catch as catch can. And finally, I got to go for my spring break, and I got to go and get more in-depth training on this approach. And I spent $750 of my own money back then and drove 7 hours up to the Philadelphia area to get training to learn more about this program. And that helped even more. I got more of the gist of it all. And so that was like in spring break, maybe Aprilish. And so I really put a lot of time into pushing those boys and trying to get them to figure out how this thing called reading works. So I was pretty excited. Then at the end of the school year, they did the STAR test, and they were both reading at like the third grade, mid 3.5 range, the middle of third grade. So, I started in the spring, and they made several years of growth, so that was good. It was kind of on the way, but they were still sixth graders, 11-year-olds who were reading like mid third grade, and I knew they weren't going to get that support next year. So it was just kind of like really striking to me that I didn't know what to do, and I had really worked hard at figuring it out, and I was on to something, but I still didn't quite have all the answers. So I really pivoted in my career and decided to leave the classroom and just teach privately and keep studying this thing called reading. And I've been kind of obsessed about it ever since. So as I tell you more about this story, I want you to be on the lookout for how I'm going to invite you to something that relates to this story, because there were a couple of activities that I did with these kiddos that move the needle for them, and those are refined variations of that, are things I've still used to this day that are part of that reading simplified system that gets kids of all abilities, even those struggling kids, even those that have learning disabilities or have been identified as dyslexia. These things that I had an early sense of back in 1998, they've become something that I've been obsessing about and really have streamlined now. So I want to share with you how you can get involved in an event regarding just one of these activities. It really is a powerful, transformative activity. So we're going to get there. And so I've got a few highs to offer before I tell the end of my story. So we've got Melody from San Antonio. As always, thanks for being here, Melody. And Joanne from Victoria, welcome. So we got our Canadian contingents and some Americans. I'm glad you guys are here. If you want to share some times where you have struggled with the teaching of reading for your students, or either now or in the past, I'm sure your colleagues out there throughout the world would be grateful to hear, because I'm not the only one that was a teacher that didn't know how to teach reading. Maybe you've come a long way like I have, but maybe you still encounter some struggles, or maybe you can just share the type of struggle you had. So when I changed my career, because I realized, just a slight change, I was still a teacher, right? But I was going to focus on reading, and I went to get a doctorate at the University of North Carolina. While I was there, I just read tons and tons and tons about how kids learn to read, and about phonemic processing and how they hear sounds and how that relates to whether they see the symbols accurately and can learn to read and spell. I developed a program at the University of North Carolina that was used in multiple states in the U.S., where teachers did activities like I had learned originally and saw big changes with their struggling readers. We got statistically significant results for all reading measures, including comprehension. So it was possible to turn things around, and I've gotten a lot better over the years, continuing to tutor kids, continuing to watch other teachers tutor or work in the classroom, and also doing just lots of research and reading. I'm kind of obsessed about this whole field, and I have been ever since then. Now, I don't really know what happened to those kids called Jeremiah. I'm calling Jeremiah and Eddie. I know that I made a difference that year, but I don't know if it was enough, right? Because third grade reading and going into seventh grade is still really is not where we want to be. So because of my Jeremiah and Eddie experiences, and because I've heard from so many of you who have felt very similar about the struggle for how to teach reading and how to deal with the overwhelm, I'm going to be throwing a party. Okay, so we're going to have a special 5-day event where I just want you to spend 5 days for five days doing 5 minutes of activity every day. So you can take one kid, or you can take one small group, or you can take a couple small groups, whatever suits you. And I just want you to try one activity. There's this one activity that I used with Jeremiah and Eddie, a variation on it that I've now kind of refined, that has continued to really unlock decoding for every student that I have encountered. So I'm excited to share that activity with you. And I'm also excited to coach you. And I'm also excited to have you brag about how your kids are moving up each day. And I'm also excited to give some prizes out. So I'm going to announce a little bit more about that. But first, let's see who else we've got here. We've got Sue Bills from upstate New York. Welcome, Sue. And Alita, I haven't seen you in a little while. Alita, welcome in Oklahoma. So thanks you guys for being here. Anybody else? Okay. So this event I'm calling the Level Up Your Reader's Achievement in the Next 5 Days. So we're going to start on Monday. We'll have a little preview bonus on Sunday if you're able, but the main teaching will start on Monday, just like we are now here on Facebook Live, and I'll go live for 5 days in a row, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you can't be there live, you can catch it on the replay because it'll be in the Facebook group that I'm hosting, a private Facebook group. And what I want you to do is to try the activity Switch It, which I'll coach you through. I'll give you the resources, all the resources you need for free to get started. And I'll also be giving out some freebies. Okay, so let me share those fun things with you. Are you ready for freebies? Katie, we're glad that you're here. Yeah, there is, and Denise from Jamaica. Cool. We are really all over the globe now. So let's see. Are you ready to see what the freebies are for our special event? This event is really tied to my story about how I couldn't figure out how to teach reading. Because it boils down to a couple of core activities, and the one that I'm going to coach you through in the special event is the heart of them all. And it is the first domino that tips everything else down. So I'm so excited for you to learn about that. So if you participate in the Facebook group in this special event starting next Monday, March 12th, and if all you do is by participating, just write a comment in the live stream like we have here, where you say, I worked with group 1 and I did list 1, and they could do short A, but they couldn't do CVCC. You just make a short little list about what they could do or what they couldn't do or what level you were on, kind of notes, just a short summary about how they did. And we'll be picking 5 winners every day. So it's 5 by 5. Every day there'll be winners. So one day we'll have some winners get this very comprehensive Switch It list of words for multiple levels. This is the core. These are lists for the core activity I'm going to coach you through. And if you have already done Switch It, then don't feel like this can't be helpful. It's still inspirational. It's kind of a little game we're going to be playing. You're going to challenge yourself to see what you can get done with just 5 minutes with one group or one kid every day. And another day we'll give out some sorted packets like this. This is sorted for the I sound for first grade. These are great for learning advanced phonics. And there's passages in there. So we'll give this out a different day. I really love this one. The Island. It's got a lot of I sound words, and some kids always like the story. And it's good pictures. Another day we'll give out the maybe a higher level. This is a packet of word work for 2nd grade. So there will always be a chance to get a prize, but even if you're not winning the prize, we will also be giving away the resources, the free resources you need to be able to do the activities. Okay, then we're going to have a macro prize. So if you participate by writing in the comments 5 days, just a little snippet about how your student did, then you'll be entered in a drawing for a big prize. Let me show you what it is. I have this really fun word work pack that I've created that I want to give to one member of our community, a simplifier, who is participating in this challenge that's coming up. And so what is in here is boxes that target a particular sound. See if I can get it open the right way. I don't want it to all fall out. So for instance, the sound A. We've got some little objects in here that relate to the sound A. So students who were beginning the A sound might want to match a picture, an object like a mailbox with the word card for mailbox, or maybe they'd link it with apron or tray. So we have some objects and some pictures. This one's so cute. Look at this. A rake? Oh my gosh. So you got different spellings of the A sound. Sue says, so cool. Thank you. I know, I love it. Now, it's still going to be challenging to not lose some of these objects. I know how it is in classrooms, but if it's a special thing that the class treasures, maybe there's a way in which it can be protected for the most part. So that is what I want to invite you to participate in. And if you have already signed up for this Level Up Your Readers Challenge, way to go. Make sure it's on your calendar. Be on the lookout for emails from me, but also go into our new private Facebook group. So if you've already signed up, just look for Level Up Your Readers Achievement in Facebook search and you'll find it. If you haven't signed up, there's a link in the comments to sign up and you'll be directed to that Facebook group. And that's just a private free Facebook group where we're going to be sharing our wins about how this one activity makes a difference. And I'm very confident that you'll see some transformation. I'm going to be showing you the transformation that a young boy had that I got to work with about a year ago. I worked with him every day, just like I'm asking you to, for just 5 to 8 minutes, and you'll get to see me coach him. And you'll see the nuances of the activity, particularly how to give feedback, really moves them up pretty quickly. So some of you, I know, Lolita, I knew that was a concern. I had some challenges with this month. So I know you have spring break. If you have spring break and you're at home, consider trying it with a child or a grandchild or a neighbor. And if you can't do that, put some notes in the comments about this is my reflection on this. This is what I learned that was new. So if you can at least do that, that will still enter you into the contest, okay? Because I know that it is spring break. It's not the best timing. So Alita says spring break, but she does use the resources daily and in her after-school tutoring group. I always get great motivation from listening to you, so you'll be tuning in. That's awesome. It does help to see other teachers in practice. Like I'm so sad in many places we're just behind closed doors and we don't get to see what other people are doing, and it's very inspiring. It's not that you can't think of all of these things. Well, it's hard to think of all these things because frankly you don't have a lot of time for thinking, right? But just some time for reflection and new ideas or reminders of what you've already known is super helpful. But I also want to say, for those of you who haven't tried Switch It, I think you will be blown away by what it can accomplish. If your kids cannot seem to memorize high frequency words, or if they seem stuck in not becoming more fluent, or if all the phonics knowledge that you've been barraging them with is not sticking, the roots of it is almost always because they don't have strong sound symbol connections, and Switch It solves that. It gives you a strong foundation on which to build everything up above it. And it's so powerful how it happens so quickly. For kids with dyslexia, for kids who are typically developing, for kids who are gifted, for kids who are just plain old typical. It works really fast. You'll see that in the videos, but you'll also see it in the comments. I have done this challenge twice now. This will be our third one for our Reading Simplified community, but it's been a year since we had our last one. And teachers from all over pour in with, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this was able to happen. Teachers who've been working with children and they try one new activity just for 5 minutes and they see the doors opening up for their kids. So if you've signed up, join that Facebook group, Level Up Your Reader's Achievement. And can you invite a friend? Because this is very powerful. We don't want any more stories like the story for Jeremiah and Eddie, do we? That's why we're in this career. We want to see all children able to read and succeed in school and then life thereafter, right? So if you can tag a friend, tell a friend, share it to your friends so that they can see for themselves how powerful Switch It is. They don't have to be a believer. You don't have to be a believer yet. Just give it a try. You'll get some free resources. What do you got to lose? But you'll see what it's like for me when I'm working with a student who is struggling to get started, struggling reader, and then you'll also hear from other teachers all over the world about how they're finding this activity. How does that sound to you guys? All right. I am going to sign off unless there is any last minute comment. Have you signed up? Give me a thumbs up. What do you guys say? Have you signed up yet? Can you find the link? It's readingsimplified.com/level-up. And remember that we've got lots of freebies coming to you just for participating, and the chance, pretty good chances, that somebody will win some of these packets of resources, right? These are things that we have right now only in our paid membership part of our Reading Simplified Academy, which is where I teach these core strategies that have really saved so much time for my students and teachers all over the world. But you can get a little sneak peek if you win these freebies. So let's see, are there any other comments? If you come in here later and you have a question about the challenge, let me know. Again, the whole point is that you will watch an activity in action, you'll try it yourself, and you'll be motivated because we're going to share with one another what's successful and what questions we have. You'll also get extra resources, and when you see an activity in action, it'll give you a lot easier time of implementing it yourself. And I know many folks who are here are already using Switch It. So if you have any good tips about that, let us know if you've seen progress. Sue says she's definitely going to sign up. Great. Thank you for saying that, Sue. I can't wait to see how it turns out for your kiddos. I was really blown away by the impact that we were able to see last year at the two challenges where we did the same sort of thing, except we didn't have as many fun prizes. But teachers really were saying that the kids loved the activity because they thought it was a game. So unmotivated kids were doing it. They were finding out that that kids were breaking through with letter sound knowledge. They found that that phonemic awareness was getting a lot better. They found that it made them better spellers. They found that they were finding it easier to read. And then the interesting thing is teachers would notice, oh, I'm seeing a lot as far as assessment is concerned that helps me understand what's going wrong or what's going well with this student or this group of students. So it kind of is like a 2-for-1. It's a great activity, but it's also a dynamic assessment for you to keep a window into what's going on with your kiddos. So Katie has been experiencing Switch It. She is teaching her youngest, or a young little fella. I don't know if he's your youngest. And she says that Switch It is amazing, and her little guy is progressing. He really is. We've been able to watch that progress in the Reading Simplified Academy. So thank you, Katie. All right, it was great to hang out with you guys tonight. I'm so excited for this coming event. Be sure to sign up, invite a friend, and get pumped for just giving yourself 5 minutes a day to tackle one activity, and you'll be amazed at the transformation that can happen in such a short period of time. So I'll see you this coming week, at least on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on March 12th, and we may do a little preview bonus activity on Sunday, so keep an eye out. Make sure you're in that Facebook group so you can get immediate access to all the resources, and we'll see you soon. Okay? Good night.